Hello, my name is Dee Bird, and I'm the Executive Director for the Stonecave Homecoming Association. And I wanted to try to give a few minutes of a tribute to John and Louise Jensen, who were some of the founders of Stonecave, Castle Valley, and many of our other academies. The Johnsons were uniquely different. And I know from talking to a lot of the former students at Stone Cave, there were many that just did not like the Johnsons, while there were many who just loved them. And I think it just depends and varies of who it is, their background, and what they were used to, and maybe what they were not used to. I remember back in when I was a student there, I think it was in my sophomore year, I was having, a new student had come. She was not used to this lifestyle, the self-supporting work, because she did not understand the dress issue. There were a lot of things that a lot of people who were coming that just didn't understand those issues. And as a teenager, even myself, I was considered a little rebellious in a way. But I remember Mrs. Johnson coming in and trying to encourage the student to go ahead and put on her skirt or a dress over her pants. And I remember thinking, wait a minute, let's not push her. She's not quite ready yet. She's here in her room. She's okay. And Mrs. Johnson was not pleased with me about this, so she ran down the stairs and told Brother Johnson about it. And of course, he called me to his office and asked me to, and he asked me about it, and I told him, I says, I believe in baby steps. I don't believe it puts them here and all of a sudden they have to be up there. There's some people that are just not ready for that. You have to take it slowly. Well, he just wasn't happy with my response, of course, and he threatened to spank me. And I told him in no way was he going to do that. Here I was, 16, 17 years old, and I had run away from my home where I was being abused by my father and my stepmother, and I was not going to enter onto a campus where they would be spanking me. That was just not it. Another time that I thought was really funny was I was hearing voices. Okay, let me explain the voices. I was living on Whispering Pines, but I was working at Bethany. And at night, when I would wake up, I would hear voices, and it really was scaring me. So I slipped off of my bed, and I kept hearing the voices. So I would turn on the light, and then the voices would stop. And I thought, this is really weird. Okay? Then I would turn the light back on, and then the voices would stop. And then I'd turn it off, and the voice would start again. I would slide back into my bed and try to go back to sleep because I'm thinking, am I dreaming this? And this happened for several nights. So I was telling Esther about this while we were at work, and she's laughing at me. Um, and I'm like, I'm not. I know I'm not crazy. So what's going on? And she was trying to kick me or hint to me that, you know, because Mrs. Johnson and Verna was in there, and she didn't want them to hear about this. Well, I found out later that what it was is that the freshman class was sneaking out. Hey, they were being typical teenagers that was curious. That no matter how you look at it or think about it, you have to, if you were there and knew what was going, you can now laugh about it. But they were being typical teenagers who were trying to explore and were curious. Nothing wrong with that. However, the campus administration saw something different. In 1993, we had asked John Jensen to speak for the Friday Night Vespers that was for the Stonecave Homecoming. And one of the things that he spoke sincerely about was forgiveness, because the Jensens began to realize that the way they did things, the attackness and how there were a lot of things they were doing that was really considered inappropriate. And although at the time they had good intentions and didn't realize it, and I think there were a lot of people who really sincerely believed in him and forgave him. But I was also the executive director of the Stonecave Homecoming, and I knew that there were many, many former students who didn't see it that way. Many had left the church, many no longer believed in God, and so I had to find a way to reach out to them to convince them that this was his sincerity. And although I had reached out to these students and to make them aware of that he begged for forgiveness, a lot of other people didn't like my article. Oh well. So I called Brother Johnson to talk to him about it. And I come to find out he was not disappointed. He was not angry about it. He was not upset. He understood, and we talked about it for a little bit while. We didn't see John Johnson again until the 2007 Stonecave Homecoming that was in Chattanooga. And Mrs. Jensen wasn't there because unfortunately she had a stroke and had passed away. But John Johnson was very happy to be there. He was so happy to see everybody. He was so happy to be in the presence of all his former students and staff from Stone Cave. And that meant a lot to him. And just to see that smile on his face. And I had a chance afterwards, I think it was afterwards, it was before, I had a chance to go to his home and visit with him and talk with him and work things out with him that needed to be. The Jensens had good intentions. They loved and they cared about the students. And although there were a lot of things they did that really, really upset people and that really, really hurt people, I think in their hearts they knew this and they needed that forgiveness. And now that they're gone, whether we have or haven't, we have to at least appreciate who they are, where they come from, and what their intention was. Their love, their sincerity, and their prayers for all of us. The Jensens are now gone, but not for long, because soon we will see them again with a new body, with new minds, and they will be dancing and rejoicing, and we will with them. So I ask you today, as we pay tributes to them, that we celebrate the goodness that came from their hearts. Thank you.